everybody, and welcome back to our life. We are still in the child era of our lovely main character, and we chose last time, after a very awkward conversation with Shiloh, to be honest with our friend Cove and tell him about his father offering us money to be friends with him, and it was very awkward, and then it was very cathartic eventually, and I think it all ended well. And now I have half of a ripped $20 bill to symbolize my friendship with Cove. Anyways, but it is time for our final available moment for this section. Fireflies. All right. Tonight we're going to catch fireflies. It's so weird that this one started with someone talking, because every other one has started with narration, but in this one it was just bam. At this blunt declaration, hey, from your sister, you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Tonight was particularly balmy. You knew there were bound to be tons of them around. Oh, you are you? I'm gonna say I started eating faster. A grin curved your lips as you started to eat a bit faster, excited for what was to come. It seemed like you were too excited, however, as you started to choke and cough on your food from shoveling it down so quickly. You died. Freaking Dark Souls death screen. Mommy reached over to pat you on the back, firmly helping to dislodge the noodles and enable you to breathe again. You took a big gulp of water from your glass, giving your mom's a sheepish look. Oops. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Shiloh's here, apparently. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we, Mrs. Deeb? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him... Ooh. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let your moms know she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside. Staying at home and watching TV was never an option for her with guests over. That's why you were pretty sure she'd get your moms to agree. Well, it's already so dark out there. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, slowly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited there for their response. Let them go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw up your arms in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full. Fine. Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay? Duh, Mom. That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, But already you could just picture all of the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from the bedtime stories Mommy read sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When you glanced at Lizzie, you saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth?
Jeez.
No one is gonna die, sheesh. A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it! Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking out the window to see who it was. Well, that's dangerous, child. Huh? You shifted in your seat to try to get a glimpse of the unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already walked to the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's flappy hat. Oh, Cove! Hi! You're here! Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there. It meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket, eyes now dropped to the floor. We left ours back home when we moved. Great, thanks. Bye. Thank you. Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged, and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him. Hi, Cove. Shiloh gave Cove a friendly smile while waving by holding up his hand and opening and closing his fingers. Cove nodded in response. You could come outside with us if you want to. From the corner of your eye, you could see Lizzie glaring at you for mentioning the excursion to an outsider. Trying not to meet her gaze, you looked at Cove. Whatever Lizzie thought of him, he wasn't exactly a stranger anymore. We're gonna catch fireflies on the hill out back. You said that with a smile, hoping Cove would want to come.
Yeah.
I can do that. I've never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been any where he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked back to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What did you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun. This will be so nice. As you polished off the meal, you hoped it would be too. The three of you the three of you all finished. I don't understand. Life with dyslexia. Yay. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie that he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did. Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh by the time you walked outside. You pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get further and further away. You're so slow, Franklin. We don't have all night. When you started to run, you started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove was still walking at a relaxed pace. I'm tugging him. Let's go! You reached out, first for his cast arm, then corrected yourself and grabbed his other instead. He stumbled a bit at your pull, but went along easily enough after he got his balance. When you arrived at the hill with the Cove in tow, with Cove in tow, the Cove. Coming this fall. Your eyes widened at the beautiful sight. There were a lot of fireflies out, glowing against the backdrop of the dark sky. Lizzie was already standing on top of the hill, and Shiloh was running around near the middle. Wow. Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcome the both of you to the hill. Hi, guys. It's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green head. Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. I don't know. I quietly looked on. You took a couple steps back, trying not to spook the little bug as you admired how it glowed so brightly against Cove's hair. Cove raised an eyebrow, giving you a confused look, and Shiloh giggled. You gestured to his head, and he reached up, making the firefly dart away. Cove jumped, then followed after the glow. Oh, look! Lizzie has one! That's amazing! Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of other fireflies sailing around. The game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm and you tried to be cautious of that. You had 2 bandages on your hand. You were good at not getting cuts and scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. I am awful at not getting cut. I swear to God, I literally, I'll touch something that's not even sharp and I'll pull it away and I'll be bleeding. 2 bandages on my hand, yeah. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful to not crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab at it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his efforts to clap his hands around the firefly. Ugh. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. Encourage him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, and he leaned closer, eyes widening a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly on the top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. I'm staying very still. The last thing you wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Oh, this is so cute. Hey, look, it's my two bandages on my hand. I was wondering why they'd asked. Okay. The firefly, noticing the new connection, crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked. Yeah, you got one. Cove's lips turned into a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Franklin. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack, performing an awkward low five. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
Oops, sorry. Dude, you're catching fireflies. It's not a big deal. There's 1,000 more. You just catch a new one. That's okay. I couldn't keep it forever. That's also a good point.
You're right.
Right. Bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. I'm gonna sit in the grass and watch. I think I'll look at everything instead. That's fun too. Okay. He poked the tip of his shoe into the soft dirt. I'll try to get something for you. Then we can be even. Adorable. With that, he made a run for it. You quietly took a seat among the flowers. The others were jumping and dashing all about. You saw how many times they succeeded and failed, how Shiloh almost tripped a couple times. It was a dramatic show, though around you, it was calm. The lights of the stars and fireflies surrounded you peacefully. It was a beautiful night. You laughed quietly to yourself as you watched the others, and Shiloh finally managed to catch a firefly between his small hands. His eyes light up, and when he spreads his fingers to take a peek at it, the bug escaped and flew into the air. Oh! You watched as he pounced after it once more, but your eyes soon landed on Cove, who had failed to catch a firefly yet. I'm gonna cheer him on. You can do it, Cove! Cove smiled, and you gave him a thumbs up, watching intently to see what happened next. While Cove returned to hunting fireflies, you settled for laying back against the soft grass, watching the poppies swaying around you and the fireflies hovering against the vast sky. Franklin? You lifted your eyes to see Cove return to your side. His fist was carefully closed. He stretched it out to the front of your face. I get in front of your face, but the front of your face is just your face. Anyways, you noticed a small glow coming from in between his fingers. I got one for you. Whoa, what now? The hand disappeared up and over you. This! You can tell from how he moved and his face that there must be a firefly on top of your head now. Oh, you laughed, and it probably flew off, you thought. That made you laugh more. Thanks, Cove. Franklin, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again. Lizzie beckoning to you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew that there wasn't much room for disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. He didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi. Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You could hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it's that kind of race? He frowned down at his cast. That was the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it? I guess. The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee. But it was already decided. I'll stay with Cove.
Really?
Really? Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I'm gonna watch. You moved beside him on top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. We only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner, whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side to get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown! Cove stood up a little straighter. It seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duties seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speeds towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck, until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. Oh! She obviously hadn't noticed a thing. And as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped out of the bush she had ended up in, spluttering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad. You got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, it's time to come in. No. You snickered, feeling grateful you hadn't been a part of the mini debacle. You caught Cove's eye and saw that he was doing the same. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together, side by side, down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening with each person trying to prove that they were the one who caught the most fireflies. You knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't matter much. Anyway, all that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. We finally had one where everything ended happy. Thank God. Okay. And now, finally, now that we're out of the free stuff, the summer ended. Yes, let's move to the next step. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it's cooling off in the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we are so dull. Let's get out more. He didn't do real magic, Mom. How did you figure that one out? Because I know that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look. He didn't dispute the claim. You looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since you started home. He didn't look upset, though, just content. You're aware he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan. Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that another day. We have to keep playing before it's too late. You put on your best puppy dog eyes. Oh, don't look at me like that. Like what? Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well... Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you knew that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
All right. But as soon as dinner's ready, you lot are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudged his arm with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. So much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Times and Trinkets. Ooh, or maybe the playground. Or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right? Don't I get a say in this? You silently made your own plans. I don't know. I'm gonna say, don't I get a say in this? Lizzie looked over at you, narrowing her eyes, like she was very seriously contemplating the answer to that question. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself. Gotcha. Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off in the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots to plan if I want to make the most of tomorrow. You thought this over, looking off towards the water again. Lizzie didn't wait, and before long she's disappearing off down the road. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading for the beach. I'm staying with Cove, yo. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
Cool. He made a little gesture as you interpreted it as follow me, and then he started heading toward the waves. No felt down, apparently. What is happening to my brain? I've been recording these episodes back to back to back, and now my brain is just mush. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, then tossed it out into the water. You were impressed over how far he got it to go. It sailed away into the sea. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't care to try for that. Rock sunk, kind of like a rock, and fell back down almost right after he tossed it. I'm gonna save this one. Yep. I'm not... Like, I could ask, what are you doing? But, like, I get it. Let's look for our own rock. Deciding to join Cove, you search nearby for any rocks or shells that you could throw to. You found a shell that would suit your purposes, a smile growing as you tossed it as hard as you could. It landed with a wet-sounding thunk a few feet away and slipped down into the water. When you looked over at Cove, he didn't seem to notice that his throw had been more impressive. Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface, even though you were pretty sure he couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed, and there was a frown on his face. It's not fair. I've had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. Okay, I feel like if I don't ask this now, I'm never gonna be able to. How'd you get it? I was jet skiing. Really? Cove narrowed his eyes a little. Yeah, why would I lie? I didn't mean it like that. He then continued to explain. I crashed. He gestured to his arm as if to say, and this was the result. It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski.
Oh.
Well, I'm not. Oh. Cove let out a huff, plopping down on the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school. Woo, wow. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. Cool. You're gonna like it. Everyone's super nice. You've only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that his old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, he did have to make new friends and meet new teachers, and it could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head, then wrapped his good arm around his knees as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet.
I want to go home.
This poor kid. I've been playing this game for like 3.5 hours, like solidly 60% of the time that this kid is on the screen, he is crying. I want to go home. You'd never had to move before, but you thought you could understand. If you had to go to a new school all of a sudden with all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you still weren't sure how to help. Okay, I'll see you later. Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he had moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down into the sand, trying to consider what to do. This can be your home. It's a really nice home if you give it a chance. Cove didn't respond to that. He just tightened his arm around his knees, resting his chin on them. You're not gonna leave, right? You'll still be around. The question was a little surprising. Of course. Your parents would have mentioned if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we could go swimming. You were fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun. Cove smiled, then looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually. That I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. You spared a glance at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all. As long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. You could remember a long time ago when you'd first started going to school. You'd have absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, to listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you'd never met before. Things changing is hard. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead, you reach out and take hold of Cove's hand. The one closest to you is the one in his cast, so you made sure you were very gentle. As you watched, Cove's eyes got a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears than the ones from before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will. It will. The two of you just sat quietly, just taking in the sounds of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You definitely try to help, in what ways you could. There were so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time had really gone by fast. You stood and dusted the sand off of yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance. Yet, ultimately, okay. When you smiled, Cove returned with one of his own. Franklin? My heart. It was nice. But you were right then. But the two of you couldn't stay there in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards the house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Emotion. So so much emotion in between. Okay. We're going into teenage years. Teenage years was the first time that we had relatively skinny Frank. Also, who knows? Maybe I'll start. I was about to say, why is skin tone still here? We will keep lidded 2. Let's go. I changed my hairstyle at this point. I would sometimes have that hair. Never a middle part. Nope, not for me, not for me. Oh, yes. Oh, the sideburns too? Absolutely. Okay. I think that at this point, yep, that makes sense. Gonna go black because the brown does not look right. I don't have a back of my hair, but I'm gonna put black anyway. Let's see. What other options do I have? I still had freckles mostly at this point. I mean, birthmarks don't actually go away. I feel like with the fact that I established that I'm so accident prone, I should eventually have a scar. Acne. It's teenage years. Gotta give the acne. Gotta give the acne. Still medium hands, I guess. And then do I do there? Man, options for glasses are limited. Earrings. I was not into earrings. Lips. Thick. Thin. Thick. Thick boy. Thick boy lips. Okay. Yep. I absolutely have a scar on my leg. Okay. Let's see. Oh, yep. Teenage me. Bracelets and watches. Absolutely. I did not have braces. Okay. And done. I think I think it would be cuter we are in teenage years, nervous, crush. Oh boy. Wait. Wait. I'm gonna save real quick in case I want to go back and change any of this stuff later. But ready. Yes. Customize Cove. What? I could change Cove? Choose to customize Cove yourself or let his prior experiences determine it. Okay, so this is Cove based on oh no, that's not what I'm going back. Yes. No. Y'all, I need to read. Okay. Okay, I can't go back. Okay. Yeah, that's cute. Okay. If I hit done, is it just gonna... Yeah, it does. Okay. Let's customize. Customize a boy. It's only 2 options. I like the slightly messier one. All right. Yes. Yes. What lovely pants options. Man, I don't know. Why am I doing any of this? No, just go back. Cove, you be you. You be you, I be me. We meet in the middle. August ended, September began. It was time to go back to school. Lizzie groaned and complained the entire first week. She hated going to classes. Still, there were interesting things to do that couldn't be done anywhere else. You weren't sure how Cove felt about it. He was enrolled that year. That was like a sign Cove would be staying in Sunset Bird for a while. At school, he was alright, but kept his distance from the other kids. From what you saw, anyway. Alright. Whenever he could, Cove stuck to you like glue. He didn't even mind that much what you did to pass the time, as long as it was together. Sometimes it was like things were exactly the same as when you had first met. But other times, as you got older, you couldn't ignore how the feelings had changed in meaningful ways. That year, the divorce of Cove's parents was finalized. You overheard your parents talking about it, saying Cove's dad got full custody. At first, you worried that meant bad news. It had made Mr. Holden cry, apparently. Then you found out it meant Cove would keep living with his dad. He would only stay with his mom a few weeks of the year. Cove cried too, for different reasons, you thought. It seemed like Cove and his dad might move again, but Mr. Holden decided to stay after all. Mom asked him about it once. He said he didn't want to uproot Cove's life a second time. Mr. Holden tried to get Cove to like Sunset Bird. He kept encouraging his son to go out and see the place. Sometimes Mr. Holden volunteered to spend time with Cove. He seemed very confident that it was an effective strategy. Cove never talked to anyone about what happened with his parents, and withdrew whenever it was brought up. It was hard for him, yet nobody knew how to help. Eventually, Cove stopped crying on his own. He couldn't understand what had changed, but you hoped that you could help him feel better still, since even without the tears, he looked sad. Maybe one day he could say out loud what he felt inside. After that, it felt like things had gone back to normal, except normal didn't stay the same. Years passed, and suddenly you were in middle school. You weren't a kid anymore, you were 13 years old. That officially made you a teen, even if your sister didn't agree. The toys and crayons that used to litter every free space in your room had been packed away somewhere, replaced by new hobbies. There were other changes too. Cove's cast got taken off. It was weird to see him without it initially. Underneath the pink plaster ended up being a long, thin scar that snaked across his forearm. Cove's chest puffed out in pride when someone drew attention to it. He also went through a major growth spurt. He was the tallest student in his class for 2 years in a row. Cove will probably hold that spot again next time. In class, people knew him for more than just being tall. He also stood out because of how well he did on tests and in other academic situations. Over the years, he began opening up more too. You saw him talking amicably with other kids or neighbors from time to time. And the only kid that came to visit the neighborhood when you were little, Shiloh, well, he was gone. He and his mom moved back south because of her work, just 1 year after Cove came to Sunset Bird. It had been really upsetting when he left. Lizzie was inconsolable for weeks. But nobody talked about Shiloh anymore. It was a long time ago. You learned some heartbreaking things became less sad further away they were. Even if they had never gotten any better. That was sad in its own way. Things at home were different too. You still lived in the same house and all that, but it wasn't how it was before. Ma dyed her hair purple, wanting something new, and liked it so much she kept dyeing it. You remember calling her mommy as a kid, but something like that seemed awkward nowadays. You were much too old for the word. Ma. So mom and ma. Gotcha. That will be so much easier for me. Oh, thank God. Lizzie felt too mature for her nickname too. She insisted everyone calling her Elizabeth, so you did. Your mom soon gave her permission to go places other than the playground and shopping street, which she took advantage of. You rarely saw her around the old neighborhood. In fact, she hardly spent time with you the way she did before. Elizabeth instead associated more and more with girls from school who were her own age. Maybe the difference between 13 and 15 was greater than the difference between 8 and 10. It is, in fact. You started befriending new people yourself, like Derek Suarez. He didn't live in the neighborhood or go to the same school. What happened was his and Cove's dad struck up a business partnership a few months ago. Since then, Derek would pop in the area now and then. It seemed Mr. Suarez was happy to let Derek tag along to his work if Derek had the time for it. Without a doubt, everyone and everything around you had changed in small and big ways. You had too. As time went by, though, it was easy to settle into this new normal. Then, before you knew it, school was over, and summer vacation had come again. It was the first day of summer vacation. The sun was hot as ever. and you were inside away from its harsh rays. To be more specific, you were snuggled up in bed, celebrating your time off by sleeping in. What up? Yes! It was hot, but you still had the blanket up over your head to block out the sun. You didn't want it intruding on your lazy morning. Unfortunately, you hadn't prepared for an intrusion. From beneath the blanket, you heard the door creak open. You're still sleeping? Wow. Get up. Are you just the worst? Go away. You pretended to still be asleep. You got up. I'm definitely doing the loud fake snore. You didn't get out of bed and instead made some obnoxiously loud and totally phony sleeping sounds. It was pretty annoying, but she had bothered you first. Ugh, not funny. Get up now. I will come over there. So much for a lazy morning. Your special boy is at the door, like he always is now. He brought some happy summer gift from Mr. Holden. Mom wants you to take it from him, say thanks or whatever. You did not like the way she called him your special boy, but you knew that now that saying so, but you knew by now that saying so wouldn't stop her. So come down already. Okay. Really? That's great. I'm coming. Elizabeth said nothing else and left, having done what was instructed of her. You rolled out of bed, stretching your arms up high and yawning. Time to get ready. You sat yourself in front of the mirror in the far corner of your room. Your reflection hardly even fit in the frame. You're very tall. Your reflection went over the whole length of the mirror. You're pretty tall. Your reflection fit comfortably in the frame. Your average height. There was a lot of open real estate in the frame. You're pretty short. You had trouble getting your reflection to appear in the matter. You're very short. I love this. Okay, I'm gonna go with a solid average. Your boy in real life is a little below average, but we're gonna go with nice and average. Cove was really tall. Derek was kind of short, and you were pretty much the exact height that someone would expect for a 13-year-old. I am self-conscious over it. You couldn't help but feel awkward with the body you had. Then you put the finishing touches on your outfit while ruminating the situation. Careless as they had been, Elizabeth's words piqued your curiosity. You planned on going over to see what Cove was up to today, so this worked in your favor. It was when you spotted your reflection that you realized you were smiling wide. You were looking forward to seeing him. You left your room, resting a hand on the railing as you went down the stairs. Step 2, second chance. And what a beautiful stopping point. Thank you guys so much for watching this. That's all the time I got for this episode. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button. If you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. And as always, I will see you next time. Bye.